some people wear perfumes on occasion, maybe they just have a bottle or two, and other people like to collect perfumes as a hobby. Since there are hundreds of different types of perfumes out there, collecting them is pretty easy. Unless you're going for rare ones, in which case it'll be harder. But if you're thinking about starting a perfume collection, you might be wondering, where should I start? You know, there's so many options to choose from. So I'll give you some tips on what you should look for to, you know, get started on a collection. The first thing to consider is what kind of notes are you going for, or which notes do you prefer? Are you going for a general collection and not really considering, you know, wearing them? Some people just like to have the bottles on their shelves. Or do you actually plan on using your collection? Most people like to use the perfumes in their collection, so in that case you should make sure that you buy perfumes that you actually like. Otherwise they'll just sit there on the shelf and collect dust. So there are many different perfume notes to think about. Floral families, I actually made a video about that. There's not too many families, but they are broken down into little groups of their own. So mainly there are floral perfume families, woodsy, amber, green or mossy or plant-like fragrances, of course sweet, gourmand, foodie fragrances, and maybe some smoky ones, you know, or some oceanic fragrances. But overall, the most popular notes are floral, woodsy, sweet, fruity, that sort of thing. So you mainly need to think about what kind of notes do you prefer most of all, and which notes do you like to wear often. If you hate a certain scent, don't bother to get a perfume with that note in it. You can always tell if you're ordering online. Usually the description will tell you this has notes of, I don't know, cedar. So if you don't like that note, you could just skip it. And besides obviously choosing perfumes that have notes that you like in them, you should also think about kind of the versatility of your perfumes. There's day perfumes, there's night perfumes, and then there's perfumes that can do both. And it's important because day perfumes are usually lighter in general, while evening perfumes are heavier, maybe smoky, maybe musky or woodsy. And in the same vein, there's casual and formal perfumes. Again, formal perfumes are usually more in line with evening perfumes and casual for the daytime. So you're lucky if you're able to find an all-purpose perfume. They used to be more common many decades ago, but since then more specific fragrances have been created. But a lot of perfumes from the 1910s, 1920s were designed to be all-purpose because back then people would choose a signature scent, just one scent to use and for any occasion, so that was easier to choose back then. But today there's more variables to consider. So once you figure that out, you can start to narrow down the perfumes that you might that you're thinking about buying, and you know, maybe start with 2 or 3 perfumes, and then if you like those, you could start building off of that, kind of in the same vein. You know, maybe you like woodsy perfumes, so you got your set of woodsy perfumes, and then you can branch out and discover more woodsy perfumes or fragrances that smell similar, you know, maybe some incensey perfumes or something similar. And besides that, you can also think about the appearance of the perfume and the perfume bottles. Some people just like to collect the bottles themselves. They don't even care about the liquid inside. Especially now, today there are many different kinds of perfume bottle appearances, styles. A lot of them are more minimalistic than in the past. A lot of them are just square or elongated. Especially men's fragrances, they tend to come in square bottles, but there are some unique perfumes that have unique appearances. In the past, I would argue that perfume bottles were even more varied, which would make them more interesting to collect, especially because a lot of them, the high-class perfumes, the bottles were made out of baccarat crystal, which was a very finely crafted type of French crystal. And it's very hard to find Baccarat crystal perfume bottles these days. You usually have to rummage through your grandmother's closet to find any, but you know, some people like to collect specifically vintage perfumes, some people don't care, some people just like general collection. Some people like to organize their perfumes by the year they came out, by the notes they have, or by the shape or size of the bottle. So there's really a million ways to go about collecting perfumes. And the main thing to consider is that you shouldn't splurge right off the bat if you're thinking about getting into perfume collecting, because I would argue that the joy of collecting anything is kind of taking it slow and steady. Start with a small, maybe 2 or 3 perfumes, and kind of ruminate on what you like about those perfumes before you go out and buy more. And because if you buy a bunch of perfumes all at once, you kind of get burnt out pretty fast. So if you keep it at a slow trickle, it's more interesting. And besides that, buying perfumes all at once will drain your wallet, so it's better to just, you know, look forward to a perfume that you plan on buying and then buy it when you can. Other than that, you can also choose perfumes based on certain moods. You know, there's obviously certain perfumes that, you know, are very happy or light, and then other perfumes that are more powerful or sultry, stuff like that. So once you consider the entire world of perfumes, you can also go by the brands. There's, of course, so many perfume brands out there, Chanel, Dior, you know, people like that. So, and of course, each brand has dozens of their own perfumes, some of which are discontinued, some of which are still being made today. So you can organize a collection based on the brand as well. So whatever the case, once you organize that information, it'll be easier to find out which perfumes will be, you know, more appropriate for your collection, which perfumes are more important to you, which perfumes you don't think would be a good addition to your collection, and all that good stuff. So that's really a good way to get started for collecting. And then once you start collecting for a while, you'll get kind of into the groove of it, and it'll become easier for you to figure out, all right, this is the next perfume that's going to be in my collection, or this definitely has no place here. So other than that, that's really all I have to say about how to collect fragrances or how to start a fragrance collection. So if you have any other tips on how to collect perfumes, then you can leave those in the comments below. If you like the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.